Hi, and welcome back to Lisa's Stamp Studio. As the holidays draw closer, you're going to probably be short on time like most of us because you'll be busy celebrating. So today's card is going to be using a focal feature of designer series paper. This beautiful paper doesn't need much more to it to really play up the classy elements of Christmas. If you're here visiting from YouTube, you'll find a link down in the description of this video below, which will navigate you over to the pictures, cutting dimensions, and supplies for today's project. Let's head over to the stamp table and let's get started. I'm going to be using the Merry Christmas to All stamp set. This is also offered as a bundle, and it has coordinating framelits that die cut the beautiful script words that you see here that are actually very large. You'll find this product in the holiday catalog here on page 5. You'll see the dies down here at the bottom, and again, you can purchase it just as an individual stamp set or as the framelits, or together you'll save 10% as a bundle. If you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and you're interested in receiving either the annual or the holiday catalog or both, I'd be more than happy to send you a complimentary copy. Just leave me a comment below. Here is the card we're going to be creating today. Look at that shimmer. The designer paper does all the work. All we had to do is provide a little coordination. I'm starting with a piece of Whisper White cardstock, and we're going to be doing some heat embossing in gold to coordinate with the card. Before I heat emboss, especially words, I like to prepare the surface. This is called an embossing buddy. There's an anti-static powder inside the bag that will actually tell the embossing powder not to stick where there is an ink. I'm going to use my Versamark ink, and I have mounted the words merry and bright, but I want to point out something to you about these words. You're going to see here in the stamp set that the greetings are all individual. So what I did is I built my own phrase by putting all the stamps on one block, making it really easy for me to stamp. I'll go ahead and ink this up in Versamark ink. Versamark is a very sticky watermark ink, which is going to be perfect for heat embossing, so the powder will stick very nicely to that. We'll set that aside. I'm going to bring in very quickly my embossing powder, and I'll get that ready. We're going to work over a coffee filter so that we can catch the excess powder that we don't need, so we can put it right back in the bottle. We'll set that aside, and I'm going to bring in my heat tool. The Stampin' Up! Heat tool has 2 settings. There's a 1 and a 2. The 1 is great if you just want to dry ink on paper. 2 is going to be the high speed to set the powder. Now I realize it's going to be a little bit loud, but basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the gun very close to the cardstock. I like to keep it moving, and once the gun heats up, it's going to retain its heat, which is going to make creating multiples of the exact same card really quick and really easy. And as this begins to heat up, do you see it? That powdery finish is going to turn into a beautiful raised metallic gold. I'm going to give that just a second to cool, and I'm going to use the Everyday Label Punch to punch out my greeting. So I'm going to slide this in upside down so that I can see where I'm going. I'm going to line that up the best that I can, and then we'll punch that out. We're here with the base of the card. This is cut 4 1/4 by 11. I just scored it in half to use it as the card base, and that beautiful designer series paper. This paper is from the All Is Bright designer series paper. Isn't this beautiful? If you didn't catch my previous video at the beginning of September that showed you all the designer series papers up close and personal, I'll go ahead and link it in the description below so that you'll be able to check those out a little bit closer view than here in the catalog itself. I'm going to mount this down the center of the cardstock base, and I'm going to add adhesive. Like most Stampin' Up! Designer series papers, this one is double-sided. The specialty papers sometimes aren't, only because of the metallics that are involved, but this year, boy, they sure are. They're double-sided and they're beautiful. I'm just going to eye this for the center of my card. Our next step is going to be to add the glimmer paper on either side, and I cut these about 1/4 of an inch wide, and since they're pretty narrow, I like to use my silicone craft sheet to apply the adhesive to the back side. I don't know about you, but when you're working with a small piece, it's really easy to get your work surface really sticky, and then you're fighting that spot the entire time that you're crafting. Adhesive will not stick to the silicone craft sheet, nor will glue or hot glue, making it a perfect accessory for your stamp room. So I'm going to go ahead and add just strips of adhesive to the back of this strip. I'll slide that over, and I'm going to leave a little bit of room between the designer series paper and the edge of the cardstock. And here's a tip for you. Turn the paper horizontally. I don't know about you, but I find it a lot easier to do things straight if they're horizontal versus vertical. So I'm going to leave a little tiny bit of space, and then I'm going to apply this down the side of the designer series paper. So I've left a little gap here. And I'm going to do that exact same thing now with this piece. Those words that we embossed, let's go ahead and play those up with a little bit more of a metallic finish. And I'm going to be using the metallic threads. And I couldn't decide whether to use the silver or the gold, so I'm going to use them both. I'm going to turn my greeting over, and I'm going to ready that with some dimensionals to hold that thread. So I'm going to place some dimensionals generously on the back side. I'm very cognizant that my holiday cards are going to be put in the mail, so I want to make sure that these are well balanced so that my card comes out looking the same at the other end. I'm going to take off the paper backing to reveal the other sticky side, and that's going to get this all ready for my metallic threads. So here we've got the gold and the silver. I'm just going to unravel some of each. And then I've got my two ends here at the bottom. And I'm going to hold them in my hand. So I've got the loose threads here, and then I'm going to wrap them around my hand several times. And I'm trying not to make them too tight, because what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to slide them off, pinch them in the center, and then I'm going to grab my scissors. I'm going to cut away this other end. And then I'm going to bring this over and decide exactly how I want this to go. I'm going to put this on an angle. While I've got it pinched in the center, I've got a little bit of a hold on it, making it a little bit tamer for me to use. And then we'll separate those and make those look a little prettier when we get those on the card. So here's the base of our card once again. And I'm going to mount mine near the top. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of fan out those threads a little bit so they look a little more whimsical and a lot prettier. Bring out each of those colors really nicely. And then to finish off these two edges, I thought it was a little bit plain, so I'm going to use the metallic pearls. Now you get a sheet of gold and of silver. I'm going to use my pickup tool for this. Not only does it have a tacky point, which is great for picking up small pieces, the other side I've placed on with my paper piercing tool. This is interchangeable, so you can simply just turn this to unlock it, and it's dual-ended. It also has another piece that has a stylus tool that can be inserted in here. This is just a great product for your craft room. Since there's glue dots already on the back, I'm going to come up behind it. It'll hold it on that little pointy end for me, and I'm going to place one here. And I'm going to do the same thing and place another on this end just to kind of finish those off and make those points look a little bit more purposeful. But there we go. We have our card. Simple, easy, but yet very classy for the holidays. Here's the one we created together today. Here's the one I created before you joined me. You can see that the amount of space between my words is less here and greater here. Remember the link down in the description bar below so you can get to see the pictures and the cutting dimensions for today's card. Thanks so much for joining me, everyone. I look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great day.